sacrifice.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Wrestling Draft.
Let's light it up, light it up, light it up, light it tonight. Let's light it up, light it up, light it up, light it tonight. Let's light it up.
Do you know we're recording?
What? Oh, crap. So I just was in my wee world there. Hello, welcome to the Wrestling Draft. My name is David Hockney. Scott McLeod is not here, unfortunately, this week because it is his 44th birthday today, so he will be out celebrating. So joining me this week, he's been a guest on this season so far, and now for the first time this season on the Wrestling Draft, we have two baldy bastards running the helm. It's Andy Mitchell. Andy, how are you?
Yeah, you said I was too scared to show up the last time, so I've appeared. And like I said, we're doing the Breaking Bad cast proud by having two bald men as featured in this episode. So yeah, how are you doing?
Say his name and he appears. Not Joe Hendry, it's Andy Mitchell or Andre Michel, as we like to dub you. But fair play for stepping in as well, especially when, birthdays take priority in the McLeod household. I would make a joke about September 11th, but no, I'm not going to sink that low. Anyway, we'll go into the top scorers of the week now. So, third place this week, Julia, a successful defense of the women's United States title against Mia Yim, Mishin, however you want to call her. Julia, I think, has been a bit of an interesting one so far. Obviously, Kiana James has obviously been back in the ring, but I think the women's mid-card titles, particularly the US titles, sort of fallen a bit flat ever since Chelsea Green dropped it to Zelina Vega and then Julia picked it up. But it's good to see, it's making waves this week in particular. Andy, what's your take on the mid-card scene for the women's mid-card titles?
I think they should have really just introduced the one title. I think they were right by introducing the mid card with the US title, but look at what they're doing with the Intercontinental Championship. Ever since Becky's got it, it's been a PLE defense almost every PLE she's been at, and look at what they're doing. Like Julia's hardly there, and how you're supposed to promote your champion when they don't even book her. It's almost like they're trying to book Alana. What's her name again? Alana what?
What? Sorry,
The manager. I forgot her name.
Oh, Kiana James.
Yeah, Kiana James. Yeah, it shows you how much I watch it. But yeah, Kiana James. It's more like they're trying to sort of make her look better than Julia. So I don't know what they're doing.
Well, she's part of Robert fucking Shaw's team. He's not been a big scorer this season so far, but it's largely because his initial captain, Cody Rhodes, has been MIA since the start of the season, filming Street Fighter. But Julia's win there has actually brought him back in somewhat of a contention, and only further helped by our two top scorers of this week, joint on 8 points apiece. It is John Moxley and Timeless Tony Storm. So Moxley also a part of Robert's team. I think he's now the highest scorer on Robert's team with 26 points overall, and Moxley himself is now second highest scorer of the season so far, 26 points overall, 17 TV appearances, the second most of the season so far, just behind Scrap Daddy Adam Pearce. But what makes Moxley such a good pick is that he's had 5 TV wins from a non-title perspective, and that's the most of any season. So it's been a very, very good week for Robert's team. And just to note as well, he may be bottom of the table still, but he was the second highest scorer this week because of those two picks, beaten only to the punch by our top of the table scorer, Tom Brock. So it's been a good week for Robert, but in the grand scheme of things, he's still got a long way to go.
Right there, you're still like dead last, ground zero on our table there. So,
Well, so what? The West End Country Club may be sitting at the bottom, but we'll bounce back with NXT Takeover Homecoming coming up next, and then a few other hopefully PLE big events coming. But Timeless Tony Storm, I mean, we could sing her praises till the cows come home. She won. She won on Dynamite this week. I can't remember who she was facing, but I believe it was a no holds barred match. Yeah, so good win for her. I believe she has the captaincy applied on. It was just trying to remember whose team she was on. Tom Brock. Oh yeah, Tom Brock's team. Of course, I'm an idiot. Yeah, so Timeless Tony Storm still being the bread earner for Tom Brock's team, but we have to give obviously a shout out to Robert Shaw for being the second highest scorer this week. But we'll see how that affects the table now. So we have the aforementioned Robert fucking Shaw with the Draft Bastards on 62. A point ahead of him is myself, the West End Country Club, on 63, which is an absolute disgrace, by the way. West End Country Club's been royally fucked over this season so far. 12th place, JP with El Grande Ecos, 67 points, 1.5 points ahead of him. It's yourself, Andy. The Man Without Beer, 68.5 points. Oh gosh, this is two things that don't go together nicely. It's Team Goat, the Goat David Campbell, and 69 points. Not nice. 9th place, the man who's not here, Scott McLeod. Dreams are made of these on 73. Gary Morris, it's Tsunami time, 74, just 1 point ahead. Then in 7th place, we have Alan Lucas, 55 and counting, 81.5. 6th place, Matt Smith, Iguana Dance with Somebody on 86. This is a guy who has drafted Mr. Iguana in round 6, and he's making mincemeat of seasoned draft performers here. This is embarrassing, to say the least. But we'll move into our top 5 now. 5th place, Dan Axel Jameson, the X6 Elite, 88 points. 4th place, Grant McRobbie, AI No Better Than You on 93. Yes, AI is doing better than about 10 other draft performers in this league, largely because of his juggernaut captain Seth Rollins. So let's not, beat around the bush too much with that one. But our top 3 are all on at least 100 points now. We have Gary Kernhan with Team Viscera on 102, Stephen Wilson with Straight Edge Brutality, 110, and still top of the table this week, our highest scorer of the week, Tom Brock. I promise I don't like the other Brock either, on 118. So not a huge lead, but still all to play for. Tom Brock maintaining his strong lead, and I think Timeless Tony Storm is going to be his big money maker for the season ongoing. And we've got obviously All Out happening in Toronto. There's September to Remember coming up on as a Dynamite special. So you never know. We could see more and more featured AEW representation. And Tom's team is very AEW heavy. Tony Storm, TNT champion Kyle Fletcher, and the Trios champions Hobbs and Shibata, who, by the way, was his round 6 tag team pick. And they are doing wonders for him right now.
No, he's done well because, as you know, like AEW's booking's always around the place, so it's kind of like the fact that he's top of the table with primarily like AEW roster is really interesting.
And when you compare that to his WWE picks, Aleister Black, AJ Styles, and Nia Jax, not even scored 10 points, any of them. But Aleister Black did get a victory over Damian Priest on SmackDown, so he might be starting to get that momentum back a little bit. AJ Styles seems to be in his pipe bomb phase at the moment. They seem to be doing an angle with it. And Nia Jax just sort of seems to be there or thereabouts. So, yeah, I think Tom's going to have to rely on his AEW team to carry him forward. But will that AEW bubble burst at some point? Possibly. But we'll keep an eye on it as the season progresses. Andy, would you like to do the Listeners League, or shall I take that off your hands, given that you're sitting in the guest chair this week?
I have no information of the Listeners League up, so you're probably best doing it yourself.
In that case, I will take the helm. So Uh, the Listeners League, a very, very competitive Listeners League at the minute. And we're talking at least 10 competitors all scoring 100 points so far. Very, very tight race between this slot. But our top five, breaking into the top five this week, it is former winner Ryan Dalgleish with the Tangerine Dreaming of UECL success on 119 points. Then we have fourth place Sam, the Dallas Cowboys, on 122. Just half a point ahead of him is Ross Brady, the big Ross man, 122 and a half. 1.5 points ahead of him, Stuart Cowie with Charlie Haas's Angels on 124. And still top of the table for the Listeners League. This big man is my pick to win. He's been a Listeners Leaguer since day one, and he's long overdue a Listeners League win. It's Big Alan Laurie, Draft Balls 3, the search for Draft Balls 2 on 129. He has captain Seth Rollins on 45. John Moxley, obviously the big scorer for this week. And one thing I'd like to note as well, Braun Squared. So Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, they've got a match against the Usos at WrestlePalooza. Could see a big win for them, and it's only going to raise his stock even further. And although Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch teaming up against CM Punk and AJ Lee might be on the receiving end of a loss. So, but the title isn't on the line, so it might give him a bit of leeway. But I think WrestlePalooza could be a turning point for our Listeners League here. But Andy, one of the names that I've mentioned just there, we did mention AJ Styles as part of Tom Brock's team, but another AJ has come back into the fold, and it is a big, big deal at the minute. So after being away for 10 plus years, her last proper match was the Raw after WrestleMania 31, and then she almost left without so much as a goodbye. But she's back again, AJ Lee, and it appears she has signed a multi-year full-time deal with WWE. Now that gets me thinking, what role do you think she's going to have as part of the wrestling draft? Is she going to be a high pick? Is she going to be a frequent pick? Is she going to be a big scorer? Is she going to be a low scorer? Or do you think she's more like a renegade pick going forward?
I don't know. I would have thought at first it would have probably been a bit more of a renegade, but it's the fact that she's full time,
Mm-hmm.
and because CM Punk's technically is he full time? He's not. So he kind of has that sort of nice schedule sometimes where he can get that time off. But if she's going to be a featured player, and also Mania's coming up in the next 6 months,
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
she's going to be one of the top picks and maybe a high scorer.
I wouldn't bet against it, to be fair. I think she's going to be a hot commodity for the next few seasons, especially, when she could go into a solo feud with Becky Lynch over the women's intercontinental title. I mean, give that title all the prestige you could ask for. I mean, it's certainly outclassing the women's United States title at the moment, but I think getting the title on AJ Lee is probably the best protocol. Could she potentially win the Royal Rumble, given that we are on a Survivor Series season at the moment?
Don't know. You need to see what the reactions are, and you know what Triple H is like with his long-term booking. Maybe he's already got someone in mind, but you never know. With it being in Saudi, are they actually going to do a women's Royal Rumble?
I imagine so. I mean, there have
Yeah,
been rumors
you'd hope
that.
so.
I mean,
But,
there have been rumors as well that WrestleMania 43 could be going to Saudi Arabia, but nothing's been confirmed as of yet. It's like, you just throw enough money at something and, lo and behold, you get it.
exactly. You
But
can put a Slim Jim's logo on a table, if you throw enough money on it. So
yeah. But one thing I would like to note about AJ Lee is she is 38 years old. It's considered more towards the higher echelon of the age bracket in the women's division at the minute, but she looks like she hasn't aged in the last 10 years. Like she's been cryogenically frozen or something. But it does make me wonder, can she still go in the ring? And WrestlePalooza is probably going to be a big litmus test for that. And more importantly, is she going to compete as frequently as the likes of, say, Io Sky or maybe Rhea Ripley, Tiffany Stratton, those big names,
no.
Stephanie Vaquer as well as another one. She was a hot commodity when she was called up to the main roster, but I think everybody wants to play with the new toy that is AJ Lee.
No, I'll be
Or
interested. Oh, sorry.
no, I was going to say, or rather, I should say, maybe it's like a reinvention of an old toy.
Yeah, just dusting it off and sort of seeing what happens with it. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Again, it's been 10 years, so there's going to be ring rust. Hopefully,
Mm,
there's no injuries. Look at what happened when Punk came back after 8 years. He was injured. He was on the injury list quite
mm.
often. So hopefully she isn't. But she didn't have quite a crazy style. She was quite a safe commodity when she was a wrestler. She wasn't the greatest in ring performer, but she was a character. So it's just be
Yeah,
interesting to see how she fits into the Raw roster and sort of where it goes from there.
she does have a pretty safe working style, and I think a lot of her in-ring work is down to her character. There was obviously back then, she was dubbed as the crazy chick and
Mm.
stuff, but nowadays, I imagine that sort of talk would be considered taboo. Like, you got an entire stadium cheering for therapy. Like, that needs to be done more often. Uh, and she was so open about her struggle with mental health, and I think she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder as well.
Yeah,
I think she might have
yeah.
mentioned it in her book.
Yeah, I saw something today where it was apparently there was a time where she was like really low and she basically had to like call someone to talk about it, and I think that's in the book as well. So she has been quite open with her mental health. So it's a different place. Vince McMahon must be going crazy knowing there's two AJs on that roster.
Yeah,
So I don't know. Hopefully it's a good environment. CM Punk seems to be enjoying it this time round.
yeah.
So you never know.
I mean, having his wife by his side is certainly like going to be a huge motivational booster, and I think they're going to be an on-screen power couple for the foreseeable. So you never know; somebody could pick up CM Punk and AJ as a tag team
Mm.
as an option. But it sounds like something Gary Kernahan would do. But I'll not. That's the last I'll draw of giving any ideas. But yeah, sounds like AJ Lee's going to be a big commodity and probably high on a lot of people's lists.
Well, she's
Possibly
lightened up the league, for next season
light it
already.
up,
Yeah.
absolutely lightened up the whole wrestling draft as a result. But Andy, I want to just briefly talk about your team, obviously, since you were last on with Scott. You shared your team. You've got the captaincy on Judgment Day still, I believe.
I did ask to change it before the league started to get Sammy on there, so I hopefully if Sammy is my captain because technically the league hadn't started, so
Okay. Well, if that is the case, I do want to talk about Sami Zayn
yeah.
because, in hindsight, he has proven to be quite a fruitful first round pick. Keyword being hindsight, because there was a lot of raised eyebrows when you first picked him in round one. And I thought you might have been a bit quick off the gun or maybe a season too early with him. But he is now the United States champion. It looks like he could potentially bring back the United States Open Challenge. Uh, and I think possibly with a few US title wins under his belt, this could potentially be a big point scorer for you.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I know it was a bit of raised eyebrows with Sammy, but it's that way with you know, the way the draft pick goes. I was like, I couldn't think of anybody else, and I thought he's good. He's mid card. He'll be on TV. Didn't think he was obviously going to get traded to SmackDown and win the US title, which is
Mm.
obviously gangbusters for me. But yeah, I think it has been confirmed he is doing the challenge, the United States challenge again.
Mm.
So it'll be interesting to see if he gets in that WrestlePalooza card. That'll be
Yeah.
extra points for me. But I don't know.
Well, I
Hopefully
think it.
so.
Well, if you don't have the captaincy on him now, I think now would be a good time
I'll
to
need to double
flip.
check 'cause I thought he was my captain. If he's not, then
Well,
been
it's
some
not.
shenanigans.
Well, it's not too bad at the minute. I mean, you've got Balor and McDonough currently on 25, but Sami Zayn is on 21 and a half. And I think by that logic, I don't know if Sami Zayn is currently. I don't know if that's actually the scoring with the captaincy applied. Uh, I'm just trying to find non-captain scores at the minute. But obviously, he gets the half a point because the match on SmackDown with Cena obviously ended up in a no contest. So I'm wondering because even if the captaincy was applied, it would still be a nice round figure. So yeah, probably wise actually to have left the captaincy off until now. Get the Judgment Day points in there. Even when you've got a 0 point scorer like Bianca Belair, she's obviously been off with injury for a while, but you're still pretty low at the bottom of the table. Only 5.5 points ahead of myself, and
Oh,
six and
yeah.
a half from Robert's score.
I know. I feel like some of the choices I thought Bianca would have probably been back by now, but
Mm.
obviously that's not the case. And then obviously Athena is just not on AEW TV anymore. Just kind of came and went. So
Aye.
it's a bit frustrating, but it's just how the league works into it.
Well,
So
I think with this US Open Challenge, this could be an opportunity for you to score some big points and maybe rack up a few places. But I'll leave that for you to decide on that one. But that's going to do it for us here on this episode of the Wrestling Draft. Obviously, the big talking point is AJ Lee is back in the fold. Could be a potential big pick for next season as we head to the Royal Rumble. But keep an eye on Survivor Series as the season progresses, because you never know, you might get some emerging talent that you might not have considered previously. Lastly, Andy, thanks for coming on. It's been good having you on the chair. Let's let off any steam and let off any animosities that we've had in our group chat, albeit if they were kayfabe, etc.
Fine, whatever. I'll see you at the gym, mate, while you're starting up with my warm-up weights. So.
Hey, listen, if you can do weighted dips with a 15-kilo barbell around a chain, you know what? Then I say we're even.
I'm not interested in your kinks, mate. You know.
All right. Well, if you want to follow us on the Wrestling Draft, be sure to follow us on Spotify, iTunes, Anchor, any good podcasting site. You can catch all the previous seasons episodes if you want to see how a season progresses, or you can follow us on our socials as well at the Wrestling Draft. If you want to get involved with the Listeners League in a future season, reach out to us. We'll be happy to have you on, and maybe you can give our current Listeners League a run for their money. But all it means to say is, for myself and Andy Mitchell, this has been the Wrestling Draft, and we'll see you next time.